Good morning, dear cadets. So, we are in the D block elements, and yesterday I have completed color formation. Why transition elements means why do the compounds of transition elements are colored? Okay, and I hope that you have got that one. Basically, three conditions are there. But the first condition is the most important. They must have unpaired electron in D block. If unpaired electron is not present in the D block, their compounds will not be colored. They will be the colorless. This is the only reason. That is why Zn2 positive, cadmium 2 positive, Hg2 positive. Their d orbital is completely filled. Remember, here unpaired electron present in 4s orbital will not make any involvement. There must be unpaired electron in 3d orbital if you are talking of first transition series. If you are talking of second transition series, then 4d. But remember, in your syllabus, first transition series is only there. Means a detailed study of first transition series. Second, third transition series and fourth transition series just for the information. Okay. There is no question from that side. Okay. So let us concentrate more on first transition series. Their variable oxidation state, catalytic property, now ionization enthalpy, electrode potential, stability of a particular oxidation state, all these things. There are so many wide variety of questions. So I hope that you are covering that one, and from my side I will not leave any stone unturned. Now today there is one important question. Just see. You might have seen in the group, okay, P block elements group, okay, variable oxidation state, nitrogen 15th group, 16th group, correct or not? In those, and last year also you might have seen the 14th group, carbon group. So just see, they are also exhibiting the variable oxidation state. But their variable oxidation state is because of the inert pair effect. Means P block elements also exhibit the variable oxidation state, but that too due to inert pair effect. Okay. But variable oxidation state of D block elements are because of involvement of 3d and 4s orbital electron. 3d and 4s orbitals electrons. Am I correct or not? Since 3d and 4s orbitals energy difference is less, that is why both orbitals electron take part in the bond formation, and this is the reason, that is why they exhibit the variable oxidation state. Second one, in the variable oxidation state of P block element is only exhibited by the heavier element, like in 14th group Sn and Pv is exhibiting. Now in 15th group, what is there? Bismuth, antimony, they are exhibiting. In 16th group also last members are exhibiting. Okay. But here in case of D block elements, almost all elements are exhibiting the variable oxidation state. If you are talking of the first transition series, so scandium is not exhibiting. Now variable oxidation state of P block elements is related with the group number. Try to understand. 14th group. So 14th group, their normal oxidation state is +4, showing oxidation state 2 less than their group. That is inert pair effect. Am I correct or not? Means 14th group oxidation state is 4 and showing less than 2 from their group oxidation state. Means instead of +4 they should exhibit the +2. Similarly, 15th group oxidation state is +5, exhibiting 2 oxidation state less than +5, that is +3. Okay. So variable oxidation state of P block element is related with their group number, but variable oxidation state of D block element is nothing to do with the group number. they will keep on exhibiting the variable oxidation state. So this is the basic difference between variable oxidation state of p block elements and d block elements. You should note down this one, okay, because in the NCERT book also in one particular paragraph they have discussed this one, okay. So dear cadets, now I am starting the new topic, that is magnetic property of d block elements, okay. So d block elements, basically two types of magnetic property they are exhibiting. The first one is the paramagnetism, second one is the dimagnetism, okay. So first let us explain what is the paramagnetism. There is one more thing in the color color compound formation. What I told, d orbital must have unpaired electron, then only their compound color will be colored, okay. So remember, there must be unpaired electron, one thing. Second one thing, if d orbital is completely filled or completely empty, here I wrote completely empty d orbital compound also form colorless compound only. Yeah, in place of this one, completely empty d orbital containing compound, here please add word containing compound. Containing compound also form colorless compound, okay. Means d orbital must have unpaired electron only. If it is vacant or fully filled, then compound will be colorless. Please add this word, okay. Let us come back to the paramagnetism. So what is the paramagnetism? It is the property of getting attracted towards the outer magnetic field. Suppose one d block compound is there. Suppose this is d block compound, okay. You are keeping this one in the field of, means in the attraction of or in the circle of outer magnetic field, okay. So this substance will be attracted towards the outer magnetic field. This property is known as paramagnetism. Understood or not? What is the paramagnetism? It is the property of getting attracted towards the outer magnetic field, and the compound or substance which is getting attracted towards the outer magnetic field, that is known as paramagnetic substance, and this phenomenon is known as paramagnetism, okay, or this property is known as paramagnetism, okay. Question arises here, why do some substance get attracted and some substance gets repelled? So just see, we'll talk about the paramagnetism only. It arises due to the presence of unpaired electron. If substance or compound will have unpaired electron in d orbital, if compound or substance will have unpaired electron in d orbital, then only it will exhibit the paramagnetic property, okay. Now how the presence of unpaired electron prompt it to be paramagnetic? Just see, if substance contains unpaired electron, if substance contains unpaired electron, these unpaired electron get aligned itself along outer magnetic field and increase its magnetic strength, hence gets attracted. Understood or not? Just see, if this substance has got unpaired electron, so this unpaired electron will align itself along the outer magnetic field and it will increase the strength of outer magnetic field, hence it will be attracted, okay. Means what is there? First, this electron will align itself according to outer magnetic field, okay. Now in this way, the strength of outer magnetic field will increase. When the strength of outer magnetic field will increase, then what would be there? This automatically, this substance will be attracted towards the outer magnetic field. This is paramagnetism, okay. Now opposite of this one is dimagnetism. Just see, it is the property of getting repelled. Where attracted you have written, just write getting repelled. Okay, just a minute, I will edit this same sentence and will tell you. Dimagnetism. So what is the dimagnetism? It is the property of getting repelled by outer magnetic field. The substance or compound which exhibit this property is known as diamagnetic substance. Okay, so opposite of paramagnetism. Okay, so in diamagnetism, what is happening? Substance is getting repelled by outer magnetic field. So it arises due to the presence of paired electron, not unpaired electron, paired electron. So two electrons are there, means they are paired up, orbitals are paired up. Now what is the reason behind the repulsion? So just see, if substance contains paired electron, these paired electron get aligned itself opposite to outer magnetic field, opposite to outer magnetic field, and decrease its magnetic strength, hence get repelled. Okay, just opposite of this one. Always remember, greater the number of unpaired electron, greater will be the paramagnetism. And if paramagnetism is more, so there is a one physical quantity that is known as Bm, Bohr magneton. So that character can be measured with the help of that unit. Now further I will explain that only. So dear cadets, just see, there is a one more physical quantity in transition element, that is the magnetic moment. Magnetic moment is expressed by mu and its unit is Bm. Okay, what is the magnetic moment? Magnetic character is expressed in terms of magnetic moment. So what is the magnetic moment? The magnetic character of transition element, that is known as magnetic moment. So what we can say, the magnetic character of transition element is expressed in terms of magnetic moment. Larger the number of unpaired electron, larger will be the paramagnetic character and larger will be the magnetic moment. Are you getting my point or not? Larger the number of unpaired electron, larger will be the paramagnetic character and larger will be the magnetic moment. Okay, so what we can say, magnetic moment depends upon the number of unpaired electron. Greater the number of unpaired electron, greater will be the paramagnetic character, hence greater will be the magnetic moment. First transition series exhibit spin angular momentum. What is this one? Now try to understand. There are two types of magnetic moment. One is orbital movement, and another one is the spin angular momentum. Spin angular, just see, transition elements basically exhibit two types of magnetic moment. One is orbital angular momentum, second one is the spin angular momentum. First transition series, they exhibit only spin angular momentum. So this is one type of magnetic moment and it is calculated by formula mu. What is this one? Already I told you, magnetic moment is expressed by mu. Okay, and its unit is Bm. What is this one? What is the meaning of Bm? Bohr magneton. So the formula is root n plus 2 Bm. Okay, where Bm equal to Bohr magneton, mu equal to magnetic moment, n equal to number of unpaired electron. Okay, everything is there. Now I gave here one question and it is there in NCERT book also. Calculate the magnetic moment of element whose atomic number is 25. So first you should write the electronic configuration. So 25 electronic configuration is 3d5 4s2. 3d5 4s2. Okay, so what is there? You should take only unpaired electron. So n equal to 5, this is only unpaired electron. So mu equal to what is there? n plus 2 Bm. So mu equal to what is there? 5. Here 5 plus 2 Bm. Okay, n equal to number of unpaired electron. So here what is there? Mu equal to what is there? 35, root 35 Bm, that is equal to 5.9 Bm. 5.9 Bm root you can take. Okay, so ultimately what is the conclusion of this discussion? The conclusion of this discussion is magnetic character of transition element is expressed in terms of magnetic moment. Dear cadets, there is one small place was left on the blackboard. So I wrote this question. Fe3 positive is more stable than Fe2 positive. So very simple answer. What is the electronic configuration of iron? Iron equal to 3d6 4s2. So just remove here 3 electron. So if you are removing 3 electron, Fe3 positive. So here what is there? 3d5. What is this one? 3d5. Okay. So now d orbital is half filled or not? So just see. Fe3 positive is more stable because of the half filled d orbital. Half filled d orbital. And now suppose you are removing 2 electron from here, minus 2 electron. So now here Fe2 positive, here 3d6. What is this one? 3d6. So now d is beyond the half filled state. That is 6 electron is there. That is why what would be there? It would be unstable. Okay. Don't apply here T2G and EG set concept. Okay. So somewhere you have to apply the T2G and EG set. That is only in case of chromium. Okay. Not everywhere, or 1-2 more places. Okay. That particular question I already dealt with you. Okay. Dear cadets, just see these questions, 2 more questions, and they are very important. Why do transition metal form complex compound or coordination compound? So first understand what are the coordination compound or complex compound. Just see K2HgI4. Okay, what are this one? Means if any chemical compound written inside the square bracket, like that compound if you are observing or seeing, then you can tell them that they are complex compound. There are many such kind of compounds are there. K2, this is a Nessler reagent. Some other compounds are also there. Since next unit is from such kind of compound only. Now just see this one also, CuNH3 whole 6 2 positive. Just see here also a square bracket is there or not? So if like that, they are also one type of compound. They are basically salt. Okay. So now next unit is there, will deal with all those things. Right now our question is, why do transition metal form complex compound? You just see here also Hg is there. That is the transition metal. Here what is there? Copper is there. That is the transition metal. So question is, why do they form complex compound? So just see, the transition metal form complex compound because of 3 reasons. Number 1, their atomic and ionic size is small. You know, transition metals are smaller than S block elements but greater than P block elements. So just try to understand here, due to their small atomic and ionic size, they form complex compound or coordination compound. Next one is high nuclear charge. See, why their nuclear charge is high? Just see, they have got the d orbital. What they have got? D orbital. And you know d orbital have got the poor shielding effect. So the nucleus will cross the d orbital and it will nuclear charge will cross the d orbital and it will reach to the outermost shell and it will attract. So just see, nuclear charge is more or not? Okay. Third one thing is there, availability of vacant d orbital for the accommodation of lone pair of electron donated by ligand. Okay. Just see here, try to understand. Soon after square bracket Hg is there, and after Hg what is there? I4 is written. So after square bracket first element is there, that is the central atom. What is this one? Central atom. And after central atom whatever is there, they are the ligand. And what are the ligand? Ligands are the species which are capable of donating pair of electron to central metal atom. Okay. Means here I4 is ligand, NH3 is ligand. So now just I wrote here the example of ligand. I negative. Just see 2, 4, 6, 8. NH3. Here nitrogen is having lone pair of electron. This is cyanide single negative. So what are the ligands? Ligands are basically species which are capable of donating pair of electron to the central metal atom. Means between ligand and central metal atom coordinate bond is there. That is why their other name is coordination compound also. What is their other name? Coordination compound. Okay, so I hope that you have got, because of these three reasons only, since ligands are capable of donating the pair of electron, so central metal atom should also be capable of accepting that lone pair of electron. So you know that d orbital elements, they have got the vacant d orbital, and that is the go down for keeping the electron. Okay, 5 orbitals are there. Now they will be vacant, and if ligands are donating pair of electrons, so that can be accommodated. So just see, why do transition metal form complex compound or coordination compound? Transition metal form complex compound because of these three reasons: small atomic and ionic size, high nuclear charge due to poor shielding effect of d orbital, availability of vacant d orbital for the accommodation of lone pair of electron donated by ligand, availability of vacant d orbital for accommodation of lone pair of electrons. So because of these three reasons, transition elements form the complex compound. And now you may ask, how the small atomic and ionic size is responsible for the formation of coordination compound? If size is small, then what would be there? Ligands would be bonded, strongly bonded with the central metal atom, and compound will be stable. Similarly, if nuclear charge is more, then what is there? Now those ligands which are surrounding the central metal atom, they will be attracted towards the central metal atom. So high nuclear charge, kiska high? Whose nuclear charge should be high? Small atomic and ionic size of central atom. Means already it is understood, transition metal only. So the nuclear charge should be high, and now you know transition elements have got the vacant d orbital. Okay, so vacant d orbital, how vacant d orbital is helping in the formation of that one? Vacant d orbital will accommodate the lone pair of electron which are donated by the ligands. Okay, about this one, next unit you will study in full detail, then you will not have any doubt. Now there is one more question here: why do transition elements mostly act as a catalyst? Why? You might have seen that whosoever is acting as a catalyst, all belongs to the transition elements only. Now there are, see, in Haber process, N2 plus 3H2 equal to 2NH3. What is the catalyst there? Iron is the catalyst, and molybdenum is catalytic promoter. So catalytic promoter, they also belongs to the transition elements only. Okay, so the meaning of this one is mostly as a catalyst, not only in Haber process, so many other Ostwald process, Haber process, now contact process, whatever commercial processes are there, almost everywhere transition elements are only acting as a catalyst. Always remember, they are only acting as a catalyst. So what are the qualities they are having? Because of that they are acting as a catalyst. That should be evaluated, that should be examined. So just try to understand, catalysts are, means transition elements are mostly acting as a catalyst because of certain qualities. What are those qualities? Just see. Number one, transition elements, they exhibit the variable oxidation state. So how the variable oxidation state exhibition help in acting as a catalyst? So you know that catalyst, they form the temporary bond with the reactant. So if they are exhibiting variable oxidation state, then what is there? That variable oxidation state will help them to form compound, intermediate compound with the reactant. Okay, so in this way variable oxidation state is helping in the formation of intermediate compound. So first point I wrote here, they exhibit variable oxidation state, hence they react with the reactant and form intermediate compound. So in this way variable oxidation state is exhibited by the transition elements, and this variable oxidation state help them to form intermediate compound. The next one is transition element provide more surface area. transition elements provide more surface area for effective collision of reacting species. Try to understand. Transition elements, their surface area is more. Their surface area is more. So since their surface area is more, it provides site for the effective collision of the reacting species. Just see, if reacting is now in the surface chemistry I taught you, what is there? Reacting species must collide in order to form the product, and all collisions are not leading the product formation. Only some collision is leading to product formation. So if collision frequency is more, then only chances of product formation will be more. So the transition elements provide the surface area for the effective collision of reacting species. And why their surface area is more? Their surface area is more because more number of unpaired electron. One more third, since here place was not there, so I wrote here. Now transition elements, they have got one more quality. They can react with any type of reactant and form intermediate compound, and that intermediate compound broken into product. So just try to understand that intermediate compound provide the alternative path by lowering the activation energy. Now just see, in third step, transition element is helping in the reduction of activation energy, isn't it? More the activation energy, lesser will be the reactivity of reactant. Okay, so what is there? These catalysts, they are providing the alternative path by lowering the activation energy value for a particular reactant. So if activation energy value is lowered, now what would be there? The speed of reaction would be more and chances of product formation will be more. But remember, these 2 points are very important. This point is, of course, you can write. If you want to leave that, you can leave also, because now it is simple only, you can write. Now the transition elements, they can react with any kinds of reactant and form intermediate compound and provide alternative path by lowering the activation energy. So because of these qualities, transition elements are acting as a catalyst. Now some more questions are there. Why do transition metal form interstitial compounds? Next one is, why do transition metal form alloys? So these 2 questions should also be discussed. Now how the intermediate compound is formed, now I already taught in the surface chemistry, will not teach you, isn't it? Intermediate compound, suppose 2-3 reactant are there. So out of 2-3 reactant, catalyst will first react with one of the reacting species and will form the intermediate compound. Next step, that intermediate compound will be broken, and now what would be there? Now reacting species oxidation state or some other property will be changed. Okay, now in this way, now your catalyst is free, now regenerated, and again it will do the same thing. You can see the intermediate theory. So since clarity was not there, which I wrote on the box, so I just shifted this one. I hope that you are getting the things which are written that side also. Okay. Next question is, why do transition metal form interstitial compound? Okay, first listen carefully. What is the meaning of interstitial space or sites? Just see, suppose this is one crystal lattice. Okay, what is this one? This is one crystal lattice. Okay, so just see, in their crystal lattice some small gaps are there. Let us see, these are gaps. Okay, so interstitial compound means in these interstitial sites, what is this one? This is interstitial sites or gaps. Some small elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen and boron is trapped. Carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, boron, small elements, they are trapped here. And now these elements, small elements, they will form temporary, means loose bond with the metal itself. This is the crystal lattice of one metal, okay? This is the crystal lattice of one metal, and the small elements which are trapped in between the interstitial sites or gap, they make bond with the metal itself. So such compounds are known as interstitial compound. Here question is, why do transition metal form interstitial compound? Just see, the transition metal have got defects in their crystal lattice. Now here I wrote, transition metals have got, this is very important point, transition metal have got defects in their crystal lattice. That is why some small elements like carbon, hydrogen, boron, they are trapped and they make bond with the metal. Okay, this is the reason, that is why transition metal form interstitial compound. Now already so many points I wrote. Small gaps in metallic crystal is called interstitial space or sites. The small atoms like carbon, nitrogen, hydrogen, boron are trapped in interstitial sites and make bond with these metals, and these are called interstitial compound. Our basic question is, why do transition metal form interstitial compound? So the compound which are formed between small element like H and Cb trapped in interstitial sites and metal is known as interstitial compound. So transition metal have got defects. Defects means not close packing, not close, some gaps should be there. What is the meaning of defects? Means having some gaps in there, having some small gaps or having some small space in their crystal lattice, that is known as defects. So the transition metal have got defects in their crystal lattice, that is why small elements are trapped and they form, and they, here you can write, they form small, they form bond with metal, and this compound is known as interstitial compound. So I hope that you have got the meaning of interstitial compound. So because of the presence of defects, in this transition metal, because of the presence of defects in their crystal lattice, transition elements form the interstitial compound. Next question, why do transition metal form alloys? Why do transition metal forms alloys? So just try to understand first try to understand what is alloys. Alloys are nothing but a homogeneous mixture of two or more metal with the metal or non-metal. Once again listen here, alloys are the homogeneous mixture of two or more metal with metal or non-metal. So try to understand here, alloys, they are homogeneous mixture. So if more than one metals are there, they are present in homogeneous state, means in the same state, one thing, and they are equally distributed throughout the available volume, means all metal. It doesn't mean that one place one metal is more, in another place another metal is more. Okay, now question is here, why do transition metal form alloys? So just try to understand. Almost all transition metals, I am talking of first transition series metal, their size is almost similar, just little bit difference is there, almost similar. Okay, so just see, when they are forming alloys, so one metal can be replaced by other metal in their crystal lattice very easily. Just try to understand. Suppose I occupied this space. Okay, I occupied this space. Okay, now another fellow is coming, another fellow who is heftier than me, so he may not accommodate here, but one person who is coming, who is having the same body features as I have got, so very easily he can be accommodated here. In transition metal, what is happening? In transition metal, all have got the similar atomic size. So one metal can be replaced by other metal in their crystal lattice. This is the only reason, that is why transition metals are forming the alloys easily, because alloys are the homogeneous mixture. So all metals should be equally distributed, and this is only possible when their atomic size is similar. If dissimilar size is there, one metal will not be replaced by other metal. Now examples of alloys are brass. Brass is the alloy of copper and tin. Bronze is the alloy of copper and zinc. Brass is the alloy of copper and SN. Bronze is the alloy of copper and zinc. So I wrote here, transition metals have got almost similar size. Hence one metal can replace other metal from their crystal lattice. Hence form alloys. Stable alloys form when atomic size is similar. Please write down this point. Stable alloys are formed when atomic size is similar. What is the meaning of this one? Stable alloys are formed when atomic size is similar. Are you getting my point or not? Alloys are chemically inert. Alloys are chemically inert. So always remember, the meaning of a stable alloy is when atomic size is similar. If atomic size is not similar, then stable alloy will not form. So these are there are so many compound, means interstitial compound also, alloys also. So now almost this is come to an end. Now as far as interstitial compounds is concerned, I will write some more examples also. Some examples of interstitial compound. Just see, last year I taught you non-stoichiometric hydride. Okay, non-stoichiometric hydride. Just see, iron, Fe3H, they are the interstitial compound. Hydrogen is trapped in the crystal lattice of iron. Hydrogen is trapped in the crystal lattice of titanium. Nitrogen is trapped in the crystal lattice of manganese. Carbon is trapped in crystal lattice of titanium. So interstitial hydrides, they are the examples of interstitial compounds also. Okay, there is one more compound, barytes. What is the barytes? Barytes is the interstitial compound containing boron. Their hardness is similar to diamond. Interstitial compound containing boron, their hardness is similar to diamond, that is barytes. Okay, so now in this way almost the duration of today's video is over. Now things are also almost completed also. Now oxides and oxoanion of metals, there should be some more clarification regarding the oxides. And there is one more question in the sample paper. CrO is basic, but Cr2O3 is acidic. Now like that some questions are there. So tomorrow I will see and will explain all those things in detail. And afterwards, now two compounds are given in this chapter, that is K2Cr2O7 and KMnO4. And almost every year questions are being asked from those particular parts. So now the trends in the physical property of transition metal is almost over. Now we'll complete K2MnO4 and K2Cr2O7. Then we'll teach you the F block elements. So in F block elements that much discussion is not required, but of course in K2Cr2O7 and KMnO4 some time is required, and those are very very important part. Why they have given K2Cr2O7? Because potassium dichromate is the compound of chromium, KMnO4 that is the compound of manganese. That is why those two compounds they have given for the study, and almost every year some questions are being asked. And you know acidified K2Cr2O7 and acidified potassium permanganate, they are very good oxidizing agent. Okay, so their oxidizing character, their oxidizing property must be studied. Okay, in this way today's video duration is over. Thank you. Please keep noting. Now don't miss, today I have completed so many questions and these questions are very important. Now if you will miss these questions, then later on what is there, you have to study own self. And now things are scattered in the book. I have almost compiled all those things in one place for the sake of your simplicity. Thank you.